I came to the first RLI conference really for two reasons. One, selfishly, knowing that I had a number of issues that kept creeping up that really took away from my marriage, being a father, and just were these constant roadblocks that I kept running into, and I didn't really know what the roadblocks were or how they got there. So I really was kind of desperate, looking for help. And I think my wife threatened me too, that I needed to do something, which was a positive threat. The second is my daughter. Quite honestly, I think she was starting to recognize, and her and I, and as a family, we were recognizing that she was starting to run into the same roadblocks in her life. And we thought that, hey, there's other issues here that are likely generational, that we really had no idea how to get rid of, and so we did it together. And so it was a hard process, a long drive, but well worth the fruit. So some of the issues that I consistently and my daughter consistently ran up against were anger. So being confronted with situations where I felt rejection, helplessness, and frustration, and didn't know how to respond other than in these little fits of rage. I didn't want to admit it. I didn't think it was true, but every once in a while you walk in front of, fortunate to walk in front of that mirror of reflection of yourself, and thought, wow, I think it might be true. And so that was big for me, and also big for my daughter. And quite honestly, I think we were desperate enough that if we were able to solve that one issue, it was well worth the sacrifice and the commitment. And we were. It wasn't something that everything was broke, but we started peeling back the onion, understanding what the issue was, what the root of those issues were, and started addressing those, and found ourselves, it's hard to put a number on it, but 50% freer than we were before, and then just continued. And quite frankly, I think we've come back, and maybe I've went through 6 or 7 RLI weeks of different events, and each time you kind of get a little closer, and I won't say I'm completely rid of that, but instead of something an issue once a month, it might be once a year where I have, kind of a moment where I break down. And so I certainly define that success, and I think my family would as well. I would encourage anyone that find themselves in a place of being desperate, or recognizing an issue, or maybe said differently, have a recurring feeling or emotion, and you're just not sure what the source of that is. But when you feel it, it's real, it's painful, it hurts, and it causes you to react in a way that you don't think is really you. And so I would encourage you to not be desperate anymore, and take that step, make that commitment to find out what those issues are, really understand the root. And I mean, the definition of a root is something that's hidden. And so what we experience, what I experience, and maybe you're experiencing, is kind of the leaf, the ugly weed that's above ground, and you can rip that weed away, but it grows back in a month. And so that's what happened to me, and I suspect that's happening to you as well. So get the root out, and again, that whole plant is gone, that issue will be gone. And so if you're feeling those helplessness, that frustration, not knowing where to turn, there really is hope out there. My relationship with God was one based on how I looked at my own father. And so growing up, my father was a provider and a protector in my family, and he did those things extremely well. We were clothed and fed and had those necessities, and we were very well protected. But he wasn't a nurturer, and so that side of me wasn't ever, I wasn't ever able to express that or receive that coming back. And so the whole concept of the Father's love was so new to me and refreshing, because I could express it, but then also receive it. And it's a two-way street. It has to be a two-way street. And I was really experiencing complete blockage both directions. And so as I looked at God, as I became a Christian and looked at my life and looked at God, I literally saw him as a protector and a provider, which he certainly is. But I didn't look at him as a nurturer and someone that would take care of me or that was interested in me. I use this analogy with people that I looked at God much like you might look at Abraham Lincoln sitting on the Lincoln Memorial, sitting on his chair, very much in control, very well respected, and that's how I saw God. And those things were all true, but I didn't have the full picture. And so as a result of understanding my relationship with my Father for what it was and what it wasn't, I was able to look at a Heavenly Father in a way that added to that relationship. And it literally, during the RLI conference, I had for me it was a vision. I know it wasn't literal, but it was so real that as I stood before the Lincoln, God took me back to the Lincoln Memorial, and I was standing there on the steps, looking at Abraham Lincoln, and in my mind thinking that's how I saw God. And Abraham Lincoln got up out of his chair, walked down and sat down next to me while I sat on the stairs, and kind of put his arm around me and kind of protected me and did those things that a large figure and that someone of that stature would. But he came to me rather than me having to walk up to that place. And instantly at that vision, something broke in my spirit, and I recognized that this is how the right relationship should be. And since that time, I've looked at God as not only a nurturer and a provider, but now I've looked at him as a comforter and a relationship. And it's totally changed my dynamic, my heart for the Lord, understanding his heart for me, and quite frankly, how I look at other people when it comes time to minister and to receive and to minister to others. I'm not just there to protect them and provide them. It's really a relationship.